Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden, co-founder of Legit Football. It is football eve. I could not be more excited. If you guys follow this show, you know that I've been off and on, working hard on Legit Football throughout the summer, but I am not going to miss any more of these Wednesday nights. It is time for football. No more preseason, no more offseason, no more speculation. It is go time. Let's bring on my partner in crime, Kevin Phillip Fox. Kevin, this is better than Christmas Eve for football junkies like us.
Was the night before football, and all through the house, everyone was stirring. I won't be getting an ounce of sleep tonight. That's.
I was waiting. Like, is he going to finish this with a rhyme? Is he actually going to take this home?
Nope, absolutely
no. You're
not.
just winging it, and you're just just not even going to try to. Don't hire Kevin for your freestyle rap contest.
No,
because
sir.
He will lose.
I need a written.
Shout out to everybody who's in the chat. Armand, the OG original. Mitchell, what's up? I think you were watching our TikTok live, so awesome to see you guys in the chat.
Me and Mitchell bonded over there. Yeah, good guy.
Since we see at least a few people in the chat who are new to the show, so what we typically do for 30 Minutes of Football is we set a timer. You're going to see our producer, Anthony Wayner, behind the scenes put up a 30-minute timer, and then Kevin and I just talk completely unscripted, no idea what we're going to talk about for 30 minutes. When the timer comes up, we're done. However, Kevin, you at least have some idea what we're going to talk about. We switched it up for tonight because it is football eve, because the NFL season for 2023 starts tomorrow. Chiefs versus Lions. We got to do some season predictions, but here's the catch. We still have to do it in 30 minutes. This isn't one of those shows where we're going to talk to you about 2 hours about Aaron Rodgers is the missing piece in New York. Sorry, Armand. We are going to go ahead and predict the season. We're going to do awards winners, coach of the year, division winners, playoff teams, and we'll finish it up with who we think will be in the Super Bowl, and we're going to fit it all into that 30-minute time frame. In fact, Anthony, don't give us a halftime today. We're going to power through. Let's go 30 minutes straight, no halftime, because it's football eve, and I am brimming with energy, Kevin.
Let's go. And I think Anthony is too, from the soundtrack, if I can gather.
Oh, wow. Mitchell already throwing some flames in the chat. A-Rod is going to pull a Brett Favre and be a bum. You just wait. We're not going to get into your comments as much as we love to. This is a very special show. I will say also, stick around if you want to know. If you followed me from last year, you know that I released game picks on Twitter, and we had a show. 30 Minutes used to be a 5-day-a-week show where I'd break them down. Obviously, we're not going to break them down, but I am going to release my picks at the end of this show. If you follow me for picks, I had almost a 70% accuracy picking winners last year. Let's see if I can do that again, Kevin. But at the show, after the 30 minutes, this will be overtime. We will release my picks. I'm not going to go into detail on them, but at least you guys will know who I'm picking. And if you miss it for whatever reason, we will put it up on the Twitter. Kevin, this is a rhetorical question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are you freaking ready for some 2023 season predictions?
I was born ready. Let's go, baby.
Let's do this. Anthony, go ahead and pull up that beautiful 30-minute timer. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday night, but this is the one time we're going to have a script. Let's go ahead and do it for the last time of this offseason. 30 minutes of football with Legit Football starts now.
Okay. Very nice.
Little groove to get us into it. All right, so we're just going to jump right into our favorite conference. Let's go with the AFC. I want to throw it to you first.
Yes, sir.
Division winner, maybe a little bit of context, whatever else you want to do. We'll talk about wild cards after we do the division winners. Let's go ahead and let's jump right off the bat with our division, AFC East. Who is going to win it in 2023?
Yeah, so I've been saying this all offseason, and bless you, whoever just
Gazoo tights.
I've been saying this all offseason, but I am like 99% sure that the Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC East. King of the Hill rules. I don't see anybody taking them down. Come take the crown from us, and I'll give it to you, but you got to earn it.
99%. There is a 1% doubt in Kevin's mind.
Absolutely.
Mitchell thinks the Finns are going to win. As a Dolphins fan, I love it. I love the confidence. But I got to go with Kevin here. I'm a realist.
That's my guy.
The Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC East. without giving away any wild card picks, any additional context, thoughts on Rodgers, the Pats, anything else on the AFC East before we move on?
Absolutely. I really genuinely, for a while, I thought it was a 3-horse race, but Brian, I'm actually pretty confident as of today it's a 2-horse race, and I think it's us and y'all. I've cooled significantly on the Rodgers hype train. The closer we get, the more and more I realize I think there's just a little too much that they're going to have to, a little too much gelling, and it's happening a little too quickly. I guess I actually personally made a bold prediction that they'll miss the playoffs. But that's just me. That's
all right. Well, I said don't reveal the wild card, but you just jumped right into there. Let's throw bullets in less than 2 minutes in. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the AFC West, Kevin. Is it repeat for the Super Bowl champs? Who's going to win the West this year? That's
a no-brainer to me as well, Brian. I'm in the 99%. Again, I might even throw a 0.9 on there for this one. Kansas City Chiefs are just look. It's like you said in the pre-show. It's Patrick Mahomes, and as long as he's breathing, has a pulse, and at least one leg, he's fine. They're winning the division, no question.
So I completely agree with you. It's the Chiefs. It's Mahomes. Kelsey, they've already said his ACL's intact. I think worst case, you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 weeks if he even misses tomorrow night, which there's no guarantee he won't play. You still have Andy Reid. You still have Patrick Mahomes. No matter how good you might think the Chargers will be, you got to chalk it up for the Chiefs. So definitely. Anthony's putting the ticker at the bottom. I don't know if we're just always going to align or if he has a different ticker for each of us. We'll see. But so far, we're full alignment. We've got the Bills winning the East and the Chiefs winning the West.
Yeah.
Armand just throwing up his AFC East prediction: Bills, Jets, Fins, Pats. So he's also aligned with this Jets fan, noted Jets fan, Armand. Yeah. We're all realistic, but man, that's going to be a fun division.
If you flip those Jets and Fins records, I think I agree with that exactly. I think he's very in the pocket of where I think the AFC East is looking.
Let's go ahead and move on to the AFC North.
Probably the toughest one of the tougher ones for me to call. Personally, for me, I'm always going to use quarterbacks as tiebreakers. And the calf strain, the fear is all subsided. Joe Burrow's practicing in full. He's going to sign his contract before Sunday, I'm hearing, from Legit Football, actually. So I'm actually thinking it's a no-brainer as well. Brian, if I was giving percentages, I'd say 98 for this one. But I'm going to go with the Bengals.
When you started to mention calf injury, I'm like, is he going to say that's a reason not to go for Burrow? No, I'm with you. Yeah. Once again, fully aligned. Cincinnati Bengals. This is the closer of the three. This is tighter. There's some teams in this division when we talk about the wild card. There's teams in this division I kind of like. Multiple teams.
Complicated.
So we'll come back to that, and we'll get a little more context on the AFC playoff race. But yes, once again, Anthony, put up the ticker because we both agree Cincinnati Bengals winning the AFC North. Let's finish out the AFC talking about the AFC South. Jacksonville Jaguars won last year. Can they repeat, or will we see a new winner?
As badly as I'd love to be trendy, as badly as I'd love to be a hot take guy, I just don't see anybody dethroning the prince who was promised. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to do what he's continued to do at the beginning stages of his career, especially in his second year, the huge leap. I even foresee a little bit more of a leap, to be honest with you. I think he could
100%
play. Yeah. Thank you, AI, Brian McFadden. Appreciate you. I actually could see him stepping into the next tier, like the Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen tier of quarterback play, and I think it's almost another no-brainer. I mean, the AFC, for as dominant as it is, I really think it's top-heavy for those four teams.
It is. There's legitimately probably 13 teams who could make a case for the playoffs.
100%.
But there's still like 5 that are even above those other 8. So I agree. Yeah. And once again, Anthony already did it because he knows I picked the Jags as well. He's got my picks ahead of time.
Yeah.
We are fully aligned, Kevin. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing.
We've hosted a podcast together for, almost a year now. I think it's pretty reasonable.
I also think like you said, it's top heavy. The teams in these divisions, there's clear leaders in the clubhouse for each of the AFC divisions. I actually think the NFC is a little bit trickier, so excited to get to that. So just to recap, we have the Bills winning the East, Chiefs winning the West, Bengals winning the North, and the Jaguars winning the South. So those are the top 4 seeds, Kevin.
Yeah, and I will say, Brian, I do think that each division has, like you said, at least one, but some have 3 additional teams that will make noise and will contend. The AFC has, if some of these, second and third teams in these divisions are in the NFC, they're slam dunk winning half those divisions without question. So I do think we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the depth of talent in the AFC. There just happens to be, I think, some juggernauts.
Well, this is where we can get into that depth, because
Yeah.
I do want to talk about each of our 3 wild card picks, which means naturally there's going to be some teams left out. So we're barely over 6 minutes in. So let's talk about wild card picks and maybe give some context about who didn't make the list, guys. Anybody in the chat, if you have thoughts, you guys are all putting your predictions
the chat
in there,
is
so
on
I love
fire.
it.
I'm loving it.
But feel free to agree or disagree with our picks. Kevin, who do you have as the 3 wild card teams to round out the AFC playoffs?
I definitely think Miami is going to be a wild card team. I don't think there's any doubt that they've done enough to improve, and forecasting health for Tua, which I think we kind of have to do as analysts, like being responsible. So I think Miami is definitely.
He learned judo. He's fine.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm seeing some nice little tuck and rolls. I saw
jiu-jitsu or whatever.
Saw some highlights that I was happy with.
He did.
He learned judo.
He looks like he's being a little smarter about it.
That's
I don't know if that
Austin
makes
Powers.
a difference.
Is that a little judo chop reference? I like it.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm gonna throw the Chargers in there. Definitely think Herbert. His name's been in my mouth all offseason, and I've been saying, if you're a top 5 quarterback, go out there and show me. I am actually looking for that step. I do believe that step will happen. And last but not least, rounding out my wildcard teams, I'm going with the Ravens. Very difficult leaving Rodgers and the Steelers and Mike Tomlin out of the playoffs. Those were probably the hardest cuts that I had to make. But that's the beauty of football. There can only be 7 teams at the end of the day who go to the dance. So
you've got you mentioned this earlier. We're talking about the AFC East. You got Aaron Rodgers and the Jets with all that hype, not even making the playoffs.
Yeah, hot take.
You've got did you say the Ravens are in, or the Ravens are
Ravens
not
are
in?
in.
Ravens are in. Steelers are not in.
Steelers are not in. That was the tough one.
So we are going to differ a little bit here.
Sure.
Let's go. I'm going to go 7-5, right?
Okay.
Build up
in
the
order.
tension
like
a little bit. Well, the opposite order, right? Top to bottom.
Yeah.
So I've got the 7 seed. Armand, your New York Jets. I do think they will find a way in. Not enough juice to knock off the Bills in the division, but man, if this defense was great last year, and if you watched any of either Hard Knocks or the preseason games, I think they have a chance to be even better. That defensive line is insane. That alone will keep them in games. They've really improved their weapons. Their offensive line is a huge question mark. Play calling, we'll have to see with Nathaniel Hackett being the play caller. But hey, the biggest upgrade at all, Aaron Rodgers. Number 6. I was about to say San Diego Chargers. No, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes, sir.
I actually think I picked them to win the division last year because Tyreek was gone, yada, yada. Then Mahomes is always Mahomes.
Naturally.
So it's hard to pick them to win, although they'll play the Chiefs well. But I'm going to pick them to go into the playoffs handily, and hopefully they don't blow a 27-point lead this time.
Horrible.
And number 5, I do not have my Miami Dolphins. I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, my God.
I feel really good. I'm buying the hype. What was it? 7 drives, 7 touchdowns. Kenny Pickett, tons of weapons. This defense is insane. TJ Watt missed a lot of last year. They've upgraded across the board. Their offensive line made improvements. Isaac Seumalo from Philadelphia is now part of that offensive line. I just love everything they've done. But Pickett was the biggest question mark, and I know it's the preseason, Kev. But, man, he looked as good as any quarterback in this preseason.
I don't disagree. I'm actually like I said, it was very difficult for me to leave them out. Their ascension is not to be understated. They handled my Bills. Like, they took care of them, and that was the starters that they wiped the floor with.
Right.
And that's the kind of coaching that we've seen them have. So, I absolutely love the boldness of it, Brian. I think as a Dolphins fan, you might almost have reverse Homer goggles on right now.
Well, so let me give you some
talk
context.
To me about that, please.
Prior to the Jalen Ramsey injury, prior to Teron Armstead now being questionable already again before week 1, prior to those things, I think I would have felt differently. But I think this is a very talented team, but they had issues even when Tua was in sometimes towards the end of the season, their offense getting slowed down. Yeah. I love Mike McDaniel, but we only got 1 year of him head coach, so it's more of a wait and see. I need to see it in a absolutely stacked division and conference. I'm worried about if they get back Ramsey in December. The AFC East has one of the hardest schedules of all the divisions in the NFL this year. So you don't get any easy games. So it just might be a fact that they might finish with the same record, 9-8, but they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love the boldness of it, Brian. I'm telling you right now, I'm witnessing reverse homerism, and I applaud you for it. I applaud you for fighting against the urge to pick your team.
Look, I hope I'm wrong.
I was
hope
afraid
I'm
you were going
wrong.
to pick them to win the division, so to see you leave them out, It's very big of you. I do applaud you. I do want to give a quick shout out, Armand, Joe, and Mitchell in the chat, just keeping it on fire. Joey Crack, Brian is a new staple of the show. He brings the heat every week. You're gonna love his comments, man. He's crazy.
Nice. We always appreciate you guys in the live chat. I'm going to try to get through all these things quickly so we have a little bit of time at the end for questions. So I see some questions in the chat, but we're going to wait till the end to get to them. The last thing I'll say on the Steelers front, this is a Steelers team. First of all, Mike Tomlin literally never has losing records, and they only got better. So they finished 9-8 last year, and I know they're in a tough division too, but I just love everything they did, and Pickett was the biggest question mark, and preseason, not preseason, you mentioned the Bills starters were in.
Dominated.
This team looks different. Matt Canada has decided to open up the offense. Pickett is just tossing the ball downfield with reckless abandon, and his guys are making plays. So let's go ahead.
Really quickly, I will say on Pickett, I did compare him recently. I used to think he was a Chad Pennington ceiling. I now think he's a Tua ceiling. I now think he has that like game manager point guard style of play. And if he can, he's already got the moxie. He's always had that grit and that toughness. But if he can,
so many weapons. Allen Robinson is a very underrated. He is their starting slot receiver. He used to be the number one receiver for Jacksonville and the number one receiver for the Bears. You got to.
I like Pickens. I like Deontay. I love Freiermuth. Najee and Jalen Warren are great. I would rather see them give Calvin Austin those slot snaps because of his athleticism, his speed.
Yeah, but Allen Robinson has been a legit wide receiver one in his life. Putting him in the slot as the third wide receiver option, he is an amazing route runner. He may not have the athleticism, but that's a guy you can count on to get first downs. Who are you going to slow down? You're going to double Pickens, Johnson on the outside, Freiermuth, and then Allen Robinson, who has been a top 20 wide receiver multiple times in his career. I don't know. I love it.
I don't know. Jerry Rice was a top 20 wide receiver a lot in his career. Do you think he can go out there and go be the slot receiver for the Steelers? Because, yeah.
Jerry Rice right now could be better than half the receivers in the
that's
NFL.
What I'm trying to say. Is like, yes, Allen Robinson was great at one point, but I do think that his time has passed him by. That's my take.
I disagree. And let's come back to this one later in the season. Let's go ahead and move on to the NFC. We got a flag thrown on us by our producer. Let's start with the NFC East, Kevin. Who are winning this year?
This is a tougher one because I love my Giants. You've accused me of homerism, even though they play in Jersey. I'm from New York. I gotta go with Philly. I love my Giants. I do think the Cowboys are going to be great this year, but I can't pick against Jalen Hurts right now. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, all the weapons that they added. Howie Roseman, that defense. No way. It's Philly, no doubt.
Do you know, I know you know this, but I'm going to remind you, that no team has won the NFC East 2 years in a row in 17 seasons, Kevin. So as much as I might like the Eagles and their roster, and I was high on them all last year, thank you, AI Kevin, I can't pick the Eagles twice in a row.
You're playing the numbers. I respect it.
I got to go with historical precedent here. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. They're the only other team in that division that I really think can compete for the division. The Eagles had one of the easiest schedules in the NFL last year. Their schedule gets tougher, especially as a number one seed, the number one division winner. So I think just it's going to be close. It might be a tiebreaker, but I got to pick the Cowboys to win the East.
I'm not mad at that pick at all. It's another gut check pick. I think it's your second one here, leaving Miami out of the playoffs and
I'm going to cut to the chase. Any Eagles fans out there, there's no way I'm leaving the Eagles out of the playoffs.
There we go. Let's all take a deep breath.
It's just the division. I'm not even saying, Kevin, I think the Cowboys are a better team. I don't. Yeah. I just think that's how the ball rolls, especially in the NFC East, and I think the Cowboys are going to technically be the lead of the division at the end of the season. Let's go ahead and move on to the NFC West.
Yes, sir, and this is one where I'm getting spicy, okay? Please don't tar and feather me. Please don't cancel me, okay? But the Seattle Seahawks are winning the NFC West.
Oh, we are disagreeing on the NFC.
Oh, yeah. The NFC West is going to go to the Seattle Seahawks.
Anthony doesn't like the Seahawks.
Because it's year 2 of Geno Smith, the big man on campus. He's taken a huge step forward. He's not the guy he was back in New York. He's not the guy he was, back in the day. Geno Smith is a new man. Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, an improved defense like crazy. And, I think there's going to be a little bit of regression from San Francisco. Spoiler alert, I'm not leaving them out of the playoffs, to quote Brian McFadden, but I don't think they have enough steam to win the division with a, second-year, 7th-round pick quarterback who I like, who I believe in. I just think they're due for a little bit of regression.
By the way, if you notice, Kevin, whenever Anthony doesn't put the ticker up after you make your prediction, that automatically is a tell that I disagreed with you, because he has all of my picks already. He has my pick, so if he doesn't put it up, you know that I disagree with you. I got to go Niners here. This is a team that, the holdout just ended. Bosa, now the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, topping Aaron Donald's annual salary average. He's back. The defensive player of the year. You only, what did you add? Javon Hargrave? Just for, craps and giggles. You still have a great offense with all of those weapons. Kittle was practicing again today. Their offensive line is a little bit meh, but in the Shanahan offense, that doesn't matter as much. Purdy going into year 2 fully healthy. As much as I like the Seahawks got spanked by the Niners every time they played last year. They dominated them. Going with the Niners to win the division again. Let's keep it rolling. Of course, it's a new year. And we might be completely wrong. That's what we love about the NFL.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the NFC North. Anthony obviously already knows my pick, but Kevin, who is going to win the North this year?
Well, given I'm hearing the music,
don't give the dance music. Now he knows what I picked.
I know where you're going. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. Actually, this is one of the, I would say, the most ironclad locks of the year. But Anthony, get the disco ball out. Get the music playing. It's Detroit, man. Detroit is going. There's no doubt in my mind. You're going to go to the Yoffs. You're going to have a blast. Jared Goff is going to throw for almost 50 tutties, I think, and have an amazing season. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to lead the NFL in receptions. And yeah, I'd like to see the defense step up. I'd like to see them be a lot better than they were last year. We've actually said this a lot on the show, Brian, but they're the hunted now. They're not hunters anymore. Detroit is being talked about as...
And that's the position they're not used to being in. That is actually a storyline I'm interested to pay attention to. They do benefit from their division getting worse. This is a team that was on the cusp of a playoff spot and it was able to compete for most of the division last year. And oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers is in the East, and the Bears are still ascending. The Vikings are having a fire sale, but still trying to compete. It's a very good division. Obviously, we agree because Anthony already did the sound effect and the ticker. We're both agreeing that the Lions are going to win. We'll get to the other teams when we talk about the rest of the wild cards, but let's finish out the divisions and talk about one of my favorite divisions this year, the NFC South, Kev.
Oh, Brian. And, this is tough because, we did just have the party. We did just have the disco ball, but I'm so sorry. Like, I have to take your disco ball and just smash it on the ground because I don't think the Atlanta Falcons are winning the division. Spoiler alert for Brian's
pick. Who says I picked the Falcons?
Spoiler alert for Brian's pick. We've been doing this for long enough.
He knows.
I think the New Orleans Saints are going to win the division. On the back, on the arm, on the right shoulder of smoldering, handsome Derek Carr, because Chris Olave is elite. Derek Carr is the best quarterback that they've had in years. I think their defense takes a step forward under Dennis Allen. I absolutely love the Jamal Williams signing.
They lost a lot of pieces on defense.
They did.
They lost their co-defensive coordinator, Chris Richard, who, by the way, is now the defensive coordinator of the Falcons. Yeah. They lost David Onyemata, they lost Shy Tuttle. They lost lots of pieces. Marcus Davenport, all gone off that defensive front. The rest of their secondary is getting older. The defense is actually what I have questions with New Orleans, not the offense.
Could be some shootouts for New Orleans, but I do think that their path, actually, Adrian and I have talked about it. Brian, if you want to have a good little laugh, go look at the quarterbacks that New Orleans is slated to face this season, and you will just chuckle to yourself.
The whole ridiculous. South has we talked about the AFC East having the hardest division schedule. The NFC South is the complete opposite. They have the easiest division schedule.
I have never seen. I genuinely think I could probably get like 6 picks if I played for the Saints this year.
The Saints have the easiest schedule, but I'm pretty sure Atlanta has the second or third easiest schedule. Yeah. So they're both right there. Let's go ahead and put my pick up at it. It is the Atlanta Falcons, my team that's not my team, if you will. I'm, Dolphins fan for life, but I just love all the moves. Arthur Smith, I love what he's been trying to build, this kind of positionless football. Hey, it's like 1990 where they're running the ball 40 times a game, but it's working. And they only added the most exciting running back prospect of the last 20 years, probably since Adrian Peterson. Everybody says Saquon. No, since AP. So I just love what this offense is doing. And they added, yes, it's on paper, but they added a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball. I mentioned they upgraded a defensive coordinator. Gone is Dean Pease, and in is Chris Richard. I love it. And they got an easy schedule. The Saints, it's going to be right there, but I got to pick the Falcons to win.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at the pick at all. I did go back and forth a little bit on this one. You really could look at any of the 4 teams as like contenders. Honestly, like
no, I can't. The Bucks aren't contenders and the Panthers aren't contenders.
So all the Baker Mayfield love all offseason, all the pounding the table that you and Adrian were doing, and you don't even care about him.
That was Adrian. I never pounded. I was not on Baker. I was not in Baker's corner.
You were rooting for him at least. You can admit that.
I like the Baker story, but
yeah.
No, now Mike Evans might not be on the team all year. It's a mess in Tampa Bay. I don't believe in Todd Bowles as a head coach. He's an amazing DC.
I agree.
Let's use this conversation to transition into the wild card. We got just under 9 minutes left, Kevin. Who are your wild card picks to finish out the NFC? Actually, a little tougher for me this year than it was last year. The NFC is a little bit better. Last year, it was like 4 teams. Now I feel like there's some spice.
It's a little tougher, but I feel like I can make my picks pretty easily, to be honest with you, given that I left San Francisco out of the division winners circle. So I'm going to, right that wrong and, get myself uncanceled. I'm going San Francisco, 100% going to fill in that number 5 spot. And then 6 and 7, it's a party in the NFC East, bro. I can't leave Dallas out, and I can't leave my Giants out. I really believe everybody is saying that last year was a fluke, and everybody is saying that Danny Dimes is going to regress, and everybody is saying this, that, and the other. But I believe in head coaches, man. And I think Brian Daboll is such a good head coach.
He doesn't have to regress. Everybody talks about the Vikings and their 11 one-score victories, NFL
that was a lot
history.
Worse.
The Giants had 7. The Giants won 7 games by 1
even
score.
Still 33% less. I know it's a lot.
Historical precedent says that that's too many and that most teams will win one-score games 50-50. So even if they lose 3 of those games, you're on the outside looking in this conference. I think they're exciting. I think their defense has a lot of question marks. I actually like the Isaiah Simmons ad.
Yeah, it was a huge move to get him, and it's experimental. You know what I mean? Like, he left the team. Oh, come on. Don't pin the comment. I like Dimes. Come on.
I used to call him Danny Duds. I took that away last year. We might have to bring it back. No, honestly, that is all Daboll. That is all Daboll that he did that. But how much can a coach do? If Darren Waller, I think Waller will come out like gangbusters, but he's probably going to get hurt at some point. And then where's your weapons? Where's your weapons? So I'm worried about this.
They have 7 wide receiver 4s, Brian. You don't think that?
And they're all slot guys too. They're all slot guys other than
very
Jalen
hilarious.
Hyatt. So let's go ahead and bring up my wild cards. We got just under 7 minutes to go. I'll go 5 to 7 because the drama's at the 7 spot. It's not at the 5 and 6.
There you go.
Obviously, you guys know I picked the Cowboys to win the division. They're going to eke out the Eagles, but the Eagles are going to be right there at 5. Seahawks at 6, same thing. NFC West, these are no surprises. This is a team that surprised us last year, but they're not going to surprise us this year. They had one of the best rookie classes in 2022, went out and got the top corner and the top wide receiver. Love everything that Pete Carroll's doing. Not going to doubt him again. And I do agree with you, Kevin. I think Geno is here to stay. He still hasn't written back, and he should not.
And he won't be.
But with my number 7 pick, I'm going to go with Jordan Love. I'm going to say that he plays well enough in this LaFleur offense. Yes, they don't have Rodgers. I get it. But they had, at times, a top 5 defense, right? If they can stay healthy, you still have Jair Alexander, one of the best cover corners in the NFL, Rashawn Gary. You've got all these pieces. And then on the offensive side of the ball, if they can stay healthy, and look, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs both have hamstring injuries, but you got Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, this exciting tight end. They have a very good offensive line. Elton Jenkins, if David Bakhtiari can stay healthy. And Love has actually looked pretty good in the preseason. This is a Shanahan offense. Remember, the quarterback doesn't have to be amazing. He has to run that offense well. So I just feel like in a division that's up for grabs with the Bears and the Vikings, I think they can get enough wins to squeeze that 7 seed. I will throw one honorable mention out there. I considered not the Giants, but the Commanders here. If Sam Howell can play the guitar with Eric Bieniemy calling the plays, and this is, I think, the Washington could sneakily be one of the top 3 or 4 defenses in the NFL. Then Washington could make some noise there.
Yeah, and I love the that we finally differ, because our NFC playoff picture could not look even remotely more different. Like, it's blasphemous. But I will say, you're leaving the Giants out, you're leaving the Saints out. Those are some really good teams.
The Saints I considered, not because I think they're a great team, but because of that
schedule.
Because of the schedule.
Dog water.
But I just think that the Packers also are not going to have, their schedule isn't a juggernaut, so I think they can make it through. And the Giants, I'm sorry, I think they coached above their their pay grade.
Yeah.
And that was all coaching, and coaching can only rely on so much. I know we dealt with that with Brian Flores in Miami. There's only so much you can get out of these players if the talent is there. We got just over 4 minutes left, Kevin. I'd love to leave some. Is Brian drinking a Coors Light? No,
that's
actually it's a LaCroix.
I was gonna say I noticed that. I was like, what is this?
It's a pink LaCroix too. I'm just gonna own it.
Podcast juice.
Cherry Blossom, it is delicious. All right, we got 4 minutes left, Kev. Let's get to some award winners. See if we can leave a little bit of time for some Q&A at the end.
Yeah,
we're gonna go rapid fire, and only if it's a hot take should you give anything.
Sure.
We'll finish with MVP. So let's go Offensive Player of the Year.
Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Jefferson.
Nice. That's the safe pick. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson. How about from Offensive Rookie of the Year to Offensive Player of the Year? Amon, you're welcome. Big on Garrett Wilson this year. Let's go Defensive Player of the Year, Kev.
Sauce Gardner.
Oh, so you're doing the same thing, but on the defensive side, from rookie to I see that, but I'm going to go Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
I think this is the year. I mean, the edge rushers are usually the ones who get it, so I think you get 20 sacks from Micah in a division-winning Cowboys team. They're going to get it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Kev. We're probably come on.
Bijan.
Just go chalk. We got to go chalk. Bijan. Let's not get cute. Don't get cute, guys.
Gibbs is a contender. Gibbs is a contender.
Okay, I'll give you that. If they use Gibbs the way they're teasing, they're going to use Gibbs. He'll be up there.
Yeah,
but this is Bijan all day. And finally, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I got a spicy one here.
I think I'll go with Will Anderson.
Mitchell said, "Don't say Bijan." The chat. Sorry. Say it again. Will Anderson of your secondary team.
My second team, who I didn't have the stones to pick. I don't think they can unseat the Jags the way that. But it did look fun watching you do that with your second team. But yeah, my second team Texans. Will Anderson.
Will Anderson, safe pick. Number 2 overall pick. I get that. Or number 3 overall pick. I think we're talking about that Commander Spice. I'm going to go Emmanuel Forbes. I am so high on this guy.
Right. Yeah, you love him.
But because here's the thing. What happened, Sauce Gardner last year, he didn't have a ton of picks, but he was so dominant.
Lockdown.
I don't think Forbes is that kind of lockdown dominant, but what he is he's a ball hawk. And the other thing you can do to win these awards is get stats. Yeah. So I think they're going to start in week 1. I'm predicting Emmanuel Forbes will have an interception of whoever's playing quarterback for the Cardinals in week 1. Commanders, he starts as Defensive Rookie of the Year. How about a little Coach of the Year?
Coach of the Year. I think I'm looking for a makeup call for my beloved Sean McDermott. I'm going to throw that one out there. I think Sean McDermott, when the Bills don't implode the way that people have been saying that they're going to, Brian, it's a hot take to say that the Bills aren't going to fall off. Everybody's praying on their downfall. And when they inevitably don't fall down because they're still great, Sean McDermott's going to get his makeup Coach of the Year.
FYI, I do know that Josh Dobbs is starting at quarterback, but they're not officially saying it. It's
and
Clayton
the jokes.
Clayton Tune or Josh Dobbs. It's weird.
It's
the
so
whole
cringe.
Cardinals thing is
Jonathan
crazy.
Gannon is cringe.
So Coach of the Year, I'm going to go. So here's the thing with McDermott. There's a lot that is expected of Buffalo. Maybe not as much as last year, but they don't tend to give it to people with those kind of high expectations.
That's fair.
I'm going to go Tomlin. You know, Mike Tomlin has never won Coach of the Year
in
his entire career. Dude has never had a losing season.
So another makeup call.
I have a runner-up. I'm going to put Arthur Smith in there as runner-up because of the Falcons.
Yeah.
Comeback Player of the Year. This is really easy if it's not anybody.
Damar Hamlin.
Damar Hamlin. Come on, let's move it on.
That was crazy.
Before we're going to finish with the Super Bowl, but who is your MVP for 2023?
I'm very superstitious, Brian, and you're going to see that from my MVP pick and my Super Bowl pick. But when I pick Buffalo, it doesn't tend to work out. So I'm going with Jalen Hurts for my MVP. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. I think he's going to have like 16 rushing touchdowns and 28 passing touchdowns. I think he's going to have 3.5K passing and maybe 1,000 rushing. I'm confident that he'll be in the running, and he's my MVP.
I am going to buy into Kellen Moore unleashes Justin Herbert. Joe Lombardi was holding him back. I am going Justin Herbert of the Chargers to be the MVP.
So he's
20
top
seconds
5.
left. 20 seconds left. Let's get our Super Bowl picks. Who you got winning
the
Super Bowl over the other
I got the Philadelphia Eagles facing up against the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow bringing
Just say it's 10 seconds. Just say who's winning.
Bengals are winning the Super Bowl.
Bengals are winning. Okay. You're welcome, Kevin. Buffalo Bills beat the San Francisco 49ers. I picked them last year. It didn't work out. I'm going to pick them again.
Go Bills!
I think it's under the radar just how good the Bills were last year. The Josh Allen injury really derailed them, but they, from a DVOA perspective, even at the end of the year, were one of the best teams, them and the Chiefs. I think this is their year.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to... Mitchell, I got to put this up there. Fins win the bowl. Love it.
They're not making the playoffs, according to Brian, but...
I hope I'm wrong. I could not be more excited if I was wrong. If the Dolphins win the Super Bowl, I want all of my predictions to be wrong. That's all worth it. So here's the thing. We mentioned that normally we end the show here. We're going to give it a few more minutes. I want to bring up my picks, and then maybe we'll do some questions. If you guys have some questions in the chat, we're feeling it. Football starts tomorrow. We're going to ride this. We're in overtime. You have an overtime banner you can put in there, Anthony. So feel free to put some questions in the chat. We're not going to dive into these picks, but at least I'm going to share them. I'm going to go one by one, starting with tomorrow night. I know, Anthony, we were talking beforehand that you're hyped on your Lions. I picked the Lions to win their division. They're gonna. When's the last time have they ever won that division? It's gonna be great to be a Lions fan, but you're playing Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes literally has never thrown an interception in week 1. He's got something like 17 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. You cannot beat Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes short of a catastrophic injury in week 1. So Chiefs tomorrow night. I got the Saints start off right with that Tennessee Titans. I love Vrabel as a coach, but I think that they've got a long season ahead of them. Jaguars defending their AFC South title with a win at Indianapolis. I think we're going to see some fun stuff out of Anthony Richardson, though. Looking forward to seeing him.
Oh, yeah.
Vikings Bucks was actually not straightforward. It is in Minnesota, which is why I ended up picking this one. But I can see the Bucks. I'm not that confident in this game.
Brian, I'm
I
not
can
gonna
see
lie
the
to
Bucks
you.
winning this one.
I got my picks up here too. I don't think we picked different on a single game. Wait, you didn't pick
what? All right, let me
Yeah,
go through
go
it,
ahead.
and then you can tell me if you disagree
Go
on
ahead.
anything. I've got those This is my lock of the week. You want to lock something up? Washington Commanders are gonna against the Arizona Cardinals.
walk.
On both sides of the ball. What a great way for Sam Howell to start against one of, if not the worst defense in the NFL.
the tune-up game.
Here's the big one. And I picked this before the Bosa news, and I thought about changing it back. I'm like, screw it. I think the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. I just said that earlier. But I have a feeling the Steelers are going to win at home in week 1. I think this is his first real game since the injury. It might take him some ramp-up time, so I am going to go with the Steelers. I'm probably going to regret that, but I'm going to stick to my guns since I picked them literally 30 minutes before the Bosa signing news came out.
Yeah.
Bengals at Cleveland. I know the Browns technically tend to give the Bengals some trouble. Maybe Burrow is a little bit more hesitant because of the injury, but I just can't pick the Browns over the Bengals, even at Cleveland. I got to pick my Falcons over the Panthers at home to start the division title and the Arthur Smith runner-up head coach of the year award. Good. Yeah, love your Houston team here, but got to go with Ravens to start, even though I have some I want to see what that Monken offense looks like. Packers at Chicago. I actually think this is going to be a fun game to watch on both sides to see where Justin Fields is at with DJ Moore and that new look offense, and Jordan Love, of course, making his first real start. Eagles on the road at the Patriots. I think it's going to be a rough season for the Patriots. Not as rough as last year, but man, it's going to have a very tough schedule. Seahawks take care of business at home against the Rams. Chargers take care of business at home against my Dolphins. Not that LA has a home field advantage, but East to West Coast, I'm having a hard time picking the Dolphins here. Broncos, I actually think this is going to be a great start for the Peyton era in Denver. Getting to play at home against the Raiders, who, if there's any team that's going to give the Cardinals a run for the number 1 overall pick, it is the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think that's going to do wonders for Russ's confidence.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football on the road. I do think this will be a fun, close game, even though I think the Cowboys are much better, but I think the Cowboys pull it off. And this is another game I'm not that confident in, I got to say, because it's at JetLife Stadium, but I am going to pick your Bills to beat the New York Jets on Monday night. Week 1, ladies and gentlemen.
I love the picks, Brian. I think you're in a really good spot, and mostly the reason I think that is because we are in lockstep. Actually, 14 out of 16. I just cross-referenced.
It's like we host a podcast together.
Honestly, no. My two big differences, and I would like to actually talk about them because I also too took the Steelers to upset the 49ers. I think their momentum in this offseason is just crazy, and I think the 49ers, like I said, they're going to take some time.
So you picked Pittsburgh to win that game?
I did also pick Pittsburgh to win that game, right?
Okay. I feel a little better about it.
Our different picks are, and I want to talk about them. You have the Broncos over the Raiders.
No, you did not pick the Raiders.
I'm picking the Raiders, bro. You're so down on the Raiders, Brian.
Their defense,
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Their defense was one of the worst in the NFL last year, and they did absolutely nothing to address it. They did draft a high edge rusher, but he's like a project, right? And you got Chandler Jones, who says he doesn't want to play for this coach.
I know, which is so
bad. You got
bad.
Max Crosby and no one else, essentially.
Yeah. I just actually really, I know Joe picked the Raiders as one of his wild card teams. I actually really like Jimmy G. I like Jacoby Myers. I like Josh Jacobs.
You know why you like Jimmy G? Because he played in the Shanahan offense. Do you know that is like kid gloves for quarterbacks? Jimmy G we're going to see the kind of quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo really is.
I mean,
because he wasn't
okay
that great in San Francisco.
He was okay in New England.
He played one season.
And he was great.
He wasn't great. He just steered the boat and didn't crash it.
I mean, but there's something to be said for that, right? Okay, that's fine. You hate the Raiders. We'll revisit this.
I don't believe in Josh McDaniels as a coach. Their defense, I just can't believe they didn't address the defensive side of the ball. Devontae Adams has been at times unhappy with this team. It's just a mess. It's a mess of a franchise. Josh Jacobs didn't want to sign until he absolutely had to, and they gave him a small raise. It's a mess, and I just can't see. I think Peyton stabilizes things. I think that he's going to come in and utilize Russell's lost 20 pounds. I'm buying it, man. I'm not saying the Broncos are going to make the playoffs, but at home, at Mile High, this is one of the most confident games I have this week.
It's definitely going to be really interesting. I think you're a little more in on the Broncos than I am. I'm kind of super cool on them. I don't know what this means. I saw that comment. Did that really happen?
I don't know. I don't doubt it. McDaniels is crazy.
That's pretty weird.
He's straight off the worst aspects of the Belichick.
He does seem pretty weird.
Do we not remember that he crashed and burned in Denver as a head coach before?
Horribly.
This is not his first.
I'll always remember when he threw the headset and ran and fist pumped down the sidelines. That's the game when they beat the Patriots, when they upset him. That's what I'll remember. That's my Josh McDaniels. I froze that moment in time. But no, my other one, and this one, you're going to have to talk me through this one as well, because you have the Packers as one of your wild card teams, right? And my homie from down under is not here, so I can talk recklessly about the Packers. But I think the Bears are going to go in there and surprise them. I think Justin Fields is going to go in there and show us the growth that people have been talking about all offseason. He had an almost perfect preseason as well, Brian.
Oh, I actually am confident in the Bears offense. Yeah. I just think the Packers are more well-rounded, and I am not confident in the Bears defense at all. They were one of the other teams that were in the bottom 4 or 5. They have some pieces. They're young pieces. They don't have much of a pass rush. Who did they sign in Ngakoue? I think, right?
I believe so.
He's their big addition. That's just,
not
gonna. He's
I
like a
Jalen
situational.
Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds is huge. That's a big addition.
Stevenson is a cornerback. They have pieces. Yeah, they do. I like their linebackers.
There's some guys, Brian. I'm just saying.
But linebackers do not a defense make. You need a pass rush. You need shutdown corners, and they don't have any of that.
Tyreek Stevenson it's a nice duo.
They're solid. They're solid. Young. But they're not shut down, and because they don't have a pass, the problem with that is if you don't have a really reliable pass rush, even solid corners can only cover for so long, unless you're like a freaking Revis Island.
Do they even have rushing the pass? I can't even. You said Ngakoue, but do they have anybody else? I literally can't even think of a name.
They had Robert Quinn last year. He's gone. Yeah, they don't have anybody of note rushing the passer.
They really should go out there and grab.
They don't have anybody of note in the defensive interior.
Melvin Ingram or something. They need because that defense. You're right. It can be a liability if they don't get to the quarterback. So yeah, but those are the two that we're different on. Every other pick, Brian, even your bold picks, we're lockstep. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll give you another minute or two if you have any questions. I saw some questions earlier. Any questions for us here at Legit Football about how the season's going to go, about your favorite team? We're feeling a little frisky here. We're taking overtime a little extra. We're going to answer some questions if you guys have it.
I saw Joe ask who...
They're all having their own... The chat is just discussing amongst themselves right now. They're not even paying attention to us.
I saw Joe comment, who for the Chiefs tomorrow do you foresee a big game from? And I guess I'll throw a stipulation on there. Let's say Kelsey misses. Who are you looking for offensive? Sky Moore? That's your name?
I've seen a lot of things about Sky Moore. I was high on him going into last year, but it appears that he just needed more time to really grasp the offense. That's why they didn't give him all that much playing time. But apparently, he is one of the only locked and loaded starters. They said that players like Kadarius Toney is going to come in certain packages. Justin Ross, a lot of hype, is going to come in certain packages. The guys that are going to be in there every single drive are Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which we know who he is at this point, and Sky Moore. Right? So if Kelsey's not out there and Noah Gray is not an amazing backup, he's fine.
Not bad.
Sky Moore is the one guy that I'm paying attention to. We know, I'd love to see the Lions defense be better, but last year against the pass, they left something to be desired, and they're going up against Mahomes. So I could see him throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Me too.
I like Sky Moore. If you're playing like a DFS lineup, like a Thursday night lineup, I like the Mahomes Moore stack.
Yeah, and I do want to give a little vote of confidence to Isaiah Pacheco drafters. I think in general, Isaiah Pacheco is a little dicey on the season long, but I think for this game specifically with the matchup and with given the fact that Travis Kelce's going to miss, there's just going to be a void of like that. That's just such a void of targets.
But they're going to throw the ball to McKinnon 4 or 5 times. They will. CEH played a lot in the preseason. We might have written off CEH in the fantasy community. I'm not saying it is. But that means that the Chiefs are going to utilize him. So I don't think they're going to ride that. Pacheco will get the early downs.
I think he'll get double-digit touches, which I think is not a bad bet.
10. Like I don't want to bet on a running back getting 10 touches.
You can do a lot worse. I'll say that much. And I think you know that.
I'd rather, if you're playing a Thursday night, like Captain, Superflex, whatever those lineups are called in FanDuel and DraftKings, then I'm going to go on running back on the other side. I'm going to get Gibbs. Because his touches are going to be high quality.
He's going to be a lot more expensive too, though. I think he'll cost you more.
It's true. I put Gibbs as my. I did one lineup on FanDuel. He's my captain, but I was able to get both Goff and Mahomes in there with. I think it was Sky Moore, and I think I closed it out with Justin Ross.
I can dig that.
I believe so. Don't quote me on that lineup, but I think that's the prices I got.
You ready? Really quick, Brian. I got some lines for you here, and I'll tell you the line, and then I'll let you make your call. I'll tell you my calls after. Jared Goff, 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Over.
Agreed. MVS.
Yeah, real quick, some context for you guys. Chris Jones isn't playing.
Right.
L'Jarius Sneed, their top corner, has missed most of the preseason, and even if he does play,
I didn't even know he was banged up.
Yeah,
that's big.
So it doesn't look like he's going to miss, but he's not going to be at full speed. This is a defense that's already been porous in the past. They rely on a lot of strategy from Spagnuolo. They find ways to win, but they tend to get better towards the end of the season. So this is going to be a shootout.
Yep, let's do Jahmyr Gibbs, 26.5 receiving yards.
Oh, over for that. Receiving yards?
Doesn't that feel like free money?
Yeah.
Yeah, over.
He'll get a couple of screen passes or whatever for 30 yards. Apparently they're going to use him as like their deep threat. Yeah, over, way over on that.
And also they're not a sponsor, but these lines are on Sleeper. So if you need to get on Sleeper, then do it. But these lines are
we may or may not be in discussion with Sleeper for something. It's very early stages. Just teasing that out there.
So what'd you say? I didn't hear you.
I said we may or may not be in discussions with Sleeper.
Yo, lock it in, Brian. I love them.
Not for the pod, but for legit football. So.
Last one, Harrison Butker. And I think I know where you're going with this because you and I have been in lockstep all night. Over under 2.5 extra points.
Oh, way over.
Hammer
it.
This is free money. Yeah. Everybody, Joe, Mitchell, Armand, what are you doing still here? Throw $50 in Sleeper and throw them all in those lines because they're hitting. They're cashing.
All right, on that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We went way over the 30 minutes, but we are happy to do so because, once again, it is football eve. The 2023 NFL season starts tomorrow. Make sure to come. We're going to be doing 30 minutes of football every Wednesday night. Kevin doesn't know this yet. We might be switching up the format a little bit, maybe some fantasy stuff. We will see. So make sure to pay attention. We're going to be discussing how to make this show better for all of you. Thank you to everybody who was in the chat. You guys made this all worthwhile. Amazing. We hope that everybody's team wins the Super Bowl this year, including our Dolphins, Anthony's Lions, and Kevin's Bills.
Let's go.
Kevin, thank you as always for doing this show with me. Thank you to Anthony behind the scenes. Happy 2023 NFL season, guys. We'll see you next time. Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see him. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady.